Hello, comrades. Welcome back to New Reverstan. I am Premier Rever, and we have a shiny new brick block for our people to live in. There's nobody living there now. Maybe we should shift some people over to get the episode started. Yeah, I don't want to take too many out of this one, and I'll show you the reason. So this is the middle one. Oh, I didn't mean to do that. As a matter of fact, that's the last thing I wanted to do, right? So we want to come here and say this one's got 74. So let's take, a few out of this one. And the reason is I'd like to take, this one's doing kindergarten and theater, and this one is, that's hard to see. Let me close some stuff. Yeah, let's just leave it open for a second. So this one's a little closer to these things. So what I would like to do is open this and have them go to the university, the school, the kindergarten, and the theater, and then the bus stop. All right, thank you. Maximum number reached. Now, let's see. What were the numbers that seemed to be working pretty well with this one? Now, the thing is if these have a lot less than the other one had, you're going to get less in the critical things, right? So you'd want less to go to, say, the bus stop until you get your number up. So 20%, kindergarten, 28%. Yeah, that kindergarten really needs to stay staffed, so let's do, we'll bring the school up and the kindergarten up a little bit extra, because then they're going to come back down if we add more to other. But then again, this theater probably needs less. And the university, I know a lot of people get excited about the university, and I don't care if everyone's educated. I only care that there's enough educated that our hospital doesn't close type thing. Or the other, that we have enough teachers, which we do. We've got plenty enough. So I'll leave that a little bit low, and we'll keep an eye on this. And then this one, what I want to do is get rid of everything but the bus stop. And that way we can kind of, now that we have a few buildings, we can kind of play it out where, let's make it 100%. I don't know where that last person's going to go, 99%. And I'm not sure that wouldn't have been 100% going to the bus stop. So that might increase, but now we can, balance these two out a little bit. And then what I think maybe we'll do, let's take a couple extra from this one and then balance these two. Right, that's pretty close. And then let's close this. And you know what? I'm going to leave one of these open for a second. And then this guy, just so you know, he's doing the playground, the firehouse, the store, and the hospital. Now, I did get a comment about, I believe that you have a problem because at one point there was like too many patients for the hospital, and that's why we're having a health crisis. I've played enough starts, especially if you watch the hard start live streams that I did. And at times I didn't have a hospital. And what I would say the hospital does is stop people from dying early, which is a great thing, right? But what it's going to do is like overall add a certain percentage, like 10% or 5% even. I don't know exactly, but always, right? So it's not going to, yes, you will get less deaths, right? But at the same time, you're only postponing their death. So it's certainly a good thing to have hospitals because overall you'll have more people, right? Those 10% won't die. If they were young when they got sick, they'll live to reproduce. So it's all definitely a net positive to have the hospital. Now, whether it's worth the money and especially if you don't have many educated and all that stuff, probably is, but, again, it sort of depends on how much money you have, too, I think. In any event, the reason that we're having, let's look at last year. See how we have a rise and then a fall, and then it starts rising again towards the end of last year? Let's see, we're in August, so then we'll come to this year. See how it's rising, and then it's like sort of topping off? This is as a result of baby booms. So if you look right now, we have, let's just call it 500 workers, for a round number. And then if we look, we have 242 children. If we doubled that, that would be because, and here's the reason for doubling it. The number of children between 7 and 21 is like let's just call it twice the number of 0 to 6, right? So this is in the neighborhood of 12, and this is 6 or 7 years. This is 12 or 13 years. So you would have twice, if you had like a steady flow of people, you would have twice as many children or babies as you would, you would have twice as many children as you would babies. Well, we don't, right? We have, if we doubled this number, we would have 450 versus the 349. Does that make sense? And then you can extend this law. A lot of times I lump these two together and say, well, we have 225 plus 350, again, round numbers, would be 575. Well, when you think about the age of the productive workers, they go all the way up to 86 from 21, right? So that's 60 years approximately. Well, this is 20 years. So you would expect to have 3 times as many workers as you would babies if you had a steady population, like no population growth whatsoever. Just as many died as were born. But what happens is when you first start out the game, there's a bunch of people that get born because like they kind of flood into the houses, and then like they don't have any babies, so there's a whole bunch of babies get made, and this number tends to spike. And if you watch closely in the beginning of your game, you'll see you have a lot of babies and not many children. And then like a few years later, by the way, people only live like 2 years in the game. So, like a couple, less than a year later, you'll notice you have like a ton of plus 21s and many, many less babies, right? So see, if you look at the chart down there, the babies, look how it's dropping off. And that cyclic cycle. So then what happens is all those babies work their way through the ages and become baby boomers. And then they become adults, and they're all adults, like young adults around the same age. Only young adults have kids in the game, like under 45 or 40 or something. And then so they all have babies, and you get another baby boom. So you get this cycle. Like if we look at this year, see how the number of children, again, if you can't see it, I apologize, but the number of children like is shooting up right now, meaning we're going to get a lot more adults who are going to have babies. And then the baby number is going to come back up. So let's say if we go to last year and go here, you'll see how, like, at one point, the babies, which are in red down there, were low. And then they go up higher, and then they go lower. And then when you compare that to your deaths, you also get, well, it's a little harder to see there because they seem to come in clumps. But if you follow that graph, you can see it's like up and down and up and down. So right now, you can see last year we had 624 births, and so we had net positive, right? Which is really what you're looking for over the course of a year or two, is that you're getting a net positive. And then same thing here with this year when we look at the deaths. See how all of a sudden like the deaths shot up, like they were low, 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 and again, it's not the greatest graph for being able to follow, but they were low and they've gotten higher, then they kind of went low again and high again. But the bottom line is, look, now all of a sudden we had 462 births and only 343 deaths. Now we're not, we're just over halfway through the year, but still you can see like there's nothing, we had hospitals the whole time. There's nothing the hospital did to prevent that kind of up and down. So anyway, I hope that makes sense. So I don't believe we're having a health crisis because we don't have enough ambulances. And just to be honest too, if you catch your hospital for 1 minute, like there's a patient waiting because we have no staff, it's, and I can see a couple people walking in, they're probably the staff that will treat that person. So now we have 2 treated patients. So could we have more? Sure. Is it causing this big boom and death cycle? No. It's a positive thing to have. It's just not the end of the world either. Like it just doesn't have that great an impact. And really, I would argue that once you get to the point in your game where you have a lot of plus 21s and, just enough people, because that will happen eventually on almost any map, unless you really mess it up, they're almost pointless, right? Because you're saving people's lives that you don't even need. But in any event, so I just want to take a look here and take some extra people out of here. This one I'm just going to leave go, but if these two get above 40, I usually take them down to 30. This one I don't mess with because this is where I'm sending them to the school and kindergarten. And then this one, yeah, it's only got 2 people. So we'll just take a couple more out of this one, and I think I'll put them into here. Just so that those extra, quote, extra people get to the bus stop. All right, our middle house there. Good, so there you go. So there's my population thing and why I'm not doing that. Now, what are we doing over here? Hey, we got this built. And this wasn't built before I started the episode. I was kind of hoping it would be done. Oh, we got last chance to buy. Yeah, so do we have anything else exciting? Had a few buildings catch on fire. Nothing that I'm aware of is burnt down. And I have been closing all my messages for a change. So now what we need to do is some balancing. And speaking of balancing, we have no people. But we're going to be... Oh, no, we do. What is going on? Oh, we have no crops. Okay, so we need to get another crop truck going. And right off the bat, we're not going to have a lot of money necessarily. So I'd like to see if we can't do something like this. Let's take this guy off of here. You know what? I'm just going to pause it for a minute so he doesn't go anywhere too fast on us. And I want him instead to go to this grain silo. I want him to then go to here. Oop, I messed that up. Right, go to here, right? And then drop off whatever you have left over here. Does that make perfect sense? So in other words, right, load corn and wait, I guess. And I don't want them waiting here for now. And eventually what I'll do is if we can get this silo filled up, I will... or at least a little bit better than we are now, then I'll maybe just have him come over and wait in the food factory. Or if that's causing a problem, I'll have him wait in the food factory. Or if we just get more trucks we figure out, I might have him wait in the food factory. All right, so now the other thing... All right, so let's start it up again since he didn't... let's see. We have another truck here. Yeah, I think we're going to... Not that we don't want to export alcohol, but we're going to be stealing a lot of our people... And he's got stuff in him, so I don't really want to mess with him. Does the other guy? Yeah, he's got stuff in him too. Well, we'll wait for a second, because we can buy a truck if we need to. I was hoping to send one of these guys on their way. And so what we need to do is get this. Well, no, the first thing we really need to do, let's go buy a truck. We're not going to be doing any construction for a minute. Certainly probably none that's going to need this. I'm going to send this guy back to here. Because you're going to see in a second, we really don't have many rubles until we get things going. Like, might seem like I have some, but what I'm going to do in the meantime is let's buy, at least one more covered haul, right? And, and then just because I've already been looking around, and we're going to talk about this, I want to buy another cistern. All right, so now we're way low on our money. So let's open these guys up. And then we'll leave this guy shrunken, but we'll set him up, right? So we have this and this. And I'll shrink the cistern because we'll get into that in a minute. I like to try to stay focused. Unlike what I do normally, which is helter-skelter. I want to sort of focus on one thing. So I want to take this guy to save us some money. And I want to send him up to this warehouse to pick up chemicals. I don't think there's any reason to wait. So in this warehouse... Oh, look, we're not even purchasing things in there. In this warehouse... Right, can we then... Yeah, just very little, right? So we won't even purchase any of those. So we're going to purchase with dollars for $27 a ton delivery charge. Chemicals... Oh, you know what? I turned it off because we were... Yeah, the question is, do we just come up here for all of our electrical and mechanical components? Let me go look at that other warehouse in a minute. All right, so we want to approve this purchase. All right, so that's going to cost us some buckaroos. But then this guy can come up here and go to there, and then he can come back here to our fabric factory. And if I say clothing factory interchangeably, sorry. And we'll come back to this and we'll say, I want you to go there and unload chemicals and wait. So you can get started, so that way hopefully he's right waiting. Well, you know, you can wait. It's not going to be an issue for now. Right, so that guy's going to bring us in chemicals. The other guy should be dropping off corn. Do we get some corn in here? There'll be crops. It looks like corn. But... all right, are you... where's our guy that's... don't we have a guy coming here to... oh, there we go. Yeah, where are you at? Oh, you're waiting. What are you doing there? Oh, you still haven't left. This problem's getting worse over here, not better, is it? All right, this is another guy we can steal. You know what? I want you... we're going to pause again, just so people don't... we really need them to get some crops so that those trucks start moving, right? So I'm going to have you... you know what? No, we're going to give you the same route we gave this guy. Yeah. All right, now what we need to do is get things freed up so we can get things freed up, right? Why don't we do... yeah. So why are we not... oh, let's play time. And then this guy drops off here. Yeah, so we only have one truck effectively right now going back and forth. It's not enough to get this going, but I don't know how to free this up without sending them on their way. And I'd far rather them, because they're driving all the way up to the custom now, so we can be patient. But then these two trucks should help. They'll deliver here instead of the alcohol, which is fine because we're going to have less people here, right? And remember, we're down to this many rubles, so we need to get this going. And then we have this cistern, and I've been watching this a little bit, and we are really close to filling up all of our gas stations. So right before the episode, more or less, I remembered that I forgot to even send somebody here, but I have a truck now that's just going to do what I'll call local deliveries, right? So he's going to deliver to everything that's over here. So he's going to go over to Halas here at some point, and he's going to come back. He's going to go to here, drop off, go over to Halas, come back to here, drop off, and actually he comes over to here first. So he's going to take care of these local fuel, and then we have the other one that's driving into Reverville over there, and then I have another one that I've put to go deliver up to here and here. Right? And then they'll go to the export when they get done. But this guy, I think I would like to just have him export. All right, once we get the corn thing worked out, things should flow a little bit better. That's one of the reasons I switched the corn over. All right, and so then they'll come here. So load up as much fuel as you can and wait, and then unload anything that you have in you. And start, right? So that'll just be a pure get over here and export to, so we can get some rubles so we can buy some more vehicles. And then that will be the type of thing that I do with all of this stuff when it comes to what we're going to do with trucks and whatnot, right? Yeah, I really wish... really, how did we end up with just one? Did I do something dumb? We just always had one truck, right? You know, why don't we just send this guy to free this whole thing up? All right, just head on up to the thing. You'll have a little bit smaller load. It won't be the end of the world. But then we'll get this corn flowing again, which will mean, how many do we have here? Yeah, so we have one. Okay, this guy's going to the... why does it show... it go into the grain silo? Oh, because he's still probably waiting in line or something goofy. So we have two trucks that are taking stuff up to the customs house. One's going to the rubles, one's going... so that's good. For now, that's... and we'll keep an eye on that's not backing up as we get our corn thing fixed. All right, so now, who are you? Why are you just sitting there? Why don't you go to your next stop. Next stop. Yeah, get out of there. Just a little bit of a bug. Very minor one. All right, so now what do we need? Well, we really could use another covered haul to get clothing going. So at first, I think I would like to try to get people clothing, but we could really use the money, right? So if I only had one truck, I would say what we're going to do is take people from here, or clothes from here, and again, because I want to buy more trucks, I think the first one that we would set up would be load, clothing, weight, and then unload anything you have, start. Now, this was the guy we stole out of our construction office. So that's sort of all we have left. And even then, we're in the negative in some ways. Now, I don't think there's any... I sort of looked around before the episode. I don't think there's any other trucks that we would have that would, you know, that we can steal from any place. I mean, we could talk about stealing a food truck, right? But we only have two. We have one exporting, and then the other one is taking food to the warehouse. Now, how are we doing with the warehouse? It's down a bit. And I've been paying, especially because I've just been over here waiting for the construction, pretty close attention to that, this whole, what's going on over here. And I think one of the things that we need to do is, because more people are going to get dropped off here, we need to cut down on this percentage, right? Because it starves our food a little bit too much. And then as we get more and more people here, right, I want a smaller percentage of those people to go to here. But if that percentage is too small, then you don't get enough food made. Once you get enough food made, then I increase this percentage, and that causes, you know, more alcohol to be made and less food. So now, the other thing that I've noticed, that this is working reasonably well to drop the right number of people off, even though it doesn't look it right this moment. That's just an issue of the bus timing and whatnot. And plus, when we're doing constructions, they steal... that construction bus goes in there right away. But what I think we need to do is decrease the number of people here significantly. Like, I think I want to take this down for now to say 20, right? And then I want to do a ratio. So I'll open up my calculator here. And here's the ratio I'm talking about. The maximum here is 100. Right, so 100 is to 80 is 4/5. I don't even need a calculator, right? So, and then half of that, because we're producing 5 fabric for 2.4 clothes, right? So this fabric factory with 20 people could make enough clothing for more than like if this only had 20... well, no, 4/5. This needs less. So this would be, yeah, like if we did 25 to 20 would be the perfect ratio. Does that make sense? So in other words, we could now produce fabric for 2 clothing factories with 20 people in them. So what I want to do is cut this down. No, sorry, I want to cut this in half, which we can't really do, right? So let's cut this down to 15 and leave this at 20, because I can't make this 12 and a half. So 12 and a half people here should be able to produce enough fabric for 20 people working in one clothing factory. So let's see if that works out. And if it doesn't, I'm just going to play with it and balance it out and try to make sure that things are flowing nicely. Now, what do we have in here? So we're still waiting on chemicals. Is there a particular reason, or I just haven't been patient enough with my chemical guy? What are you doing? Okay, so you brought us some corn. Good. How is our corn doing here? Speaking of corn, good. That's not our excuse any longer. Now we have a truck waiting there. That's perfect. We have no truck waiting here. Oop, that is a truck that I just clicked on. I can't. Yeah, kind of wish you could see in there better. There he is. And then we got one coming back. So good. So we're not having a problem of factories running with no trucks. Like, you know, we don't want this guy filling up before the other guys get back. How many people did we have there? Oh, good, 36. That's actually, yeah, that's really too many. We'll keep an eye on it. I don't want to overreact to like one snapshot. So where is our... What's our chemical guy doing? Well, he's got chemicals, so he should be on the way here, right? Oh, he's just leaving now. Okay, so we just got to be a little more patient. So we jumped the gun on sending people. Oh no, we didn't send people. So let's good. Let's wait. I was thinking next thing to do will be to send people to each of these places, but we might as well have them keep going to the biofuel. So this works out really well. I think it's one of the better ways to try to balance this, because I was trying to fiddle between the episodes with, you know, how many drop off percentage. And the problem is, and I don't understand why the devs would have done this, like if you say get out, it doesn't unload like 25% of the people in the bus. It's almost like it assumes that you're always going to have the bus full. So, you know, if I say 25% would be like 20 people, right, out of 82. It doesn't drop off. Like if you only have 20 on the bus, it drops off all 20. Like, and then it doesn't drop off any over here. Like, so you end up with like a lot more people over here. Where if you only had 20 on the bus, I wish it would drop off 5 people or something along those lines, right? You know, like, and then it would drop the rest, the other 75% of the people on the bus would get dropped off here, and then it would balance these out. But if you come in here and you cut down the percentage, it won't drop off more than need to go to work, right? So, and then the only other thing I would caution you on is if you cut them all down, then they end up going back on the bus too. So in other words, like if I put this down to 10 and there was people that still wanted to go to work, they're going to drive back with them. So I don't want to, like, all the rest of them come into here. So we could even say, well, the max that I even want here, maybe this is a good one to turn down too, right? Because I think we'll have enough food if we had 30 people working in here. And then the only other thing I'd warn you about, well, there's probably other things, but the thing I'm thinking of now is if you wanted 25, put 30. Because it seems like you never have the amount you say. You always have like 4 less, right? This will prove me wrong. Oops, I clicked on the cistern again. Yeah, look, see, we have a 13. So if you wanted, you know what I mean? Like, it always seems like you have a few less in here because somebody's always going home or on break, and then it, you know, repopulates in a sense. So there we go. So that what that'll do is that'll limit that, and that's probably better than doing this, isn't it? You know, like we could almost leave this as 50%, 50%. I don't know, or leave this higher. We'll see. I'm not sure how much affecting that will be, but then all the rest of them will go to here. And if I ever come in here and see 100 workers, I'll know I can ramp up my clothing. Now, I'm going to ramp up the clothing anyway as we can and as we balance this out. But really, the way I'm going to know about the alcohol is like if I have the trucks that I want and this is filling up before a truck gets back. That's a big thing too. Same thing here. So like if this is filling up with fuel, then I know I have either need to add more trucks or reduce the people or do something so that we don't have wasted people in the meantime. I wanted to say too that this is not in my nature to micromanage this game forever this much. I'm doing this because I really want to get, because speaking of which, pause. So I'm doing this because we have $602 in the bank, and we have a debt of $936,000 that we still owe. Now, the big test is going to be in the next couple months is if I can get this number to go down. So let's go here. I'm going to go borrow money. Right? I'm going to click on that top loan. And if you look, it went up another $10,000 from the last time that I paid it off. And I've been doing this long enough to know that this is probably as good a gauge as any other if we're doing better. Now, at some point, I'm trying to avoid borrowing more money. So let's return this. We delayed payment, so they're going to take another 11 grand out. Just for the sake of the video and us being able to follow everything, I would like to just keep in the $1 million, but it gets annoying to have to sit there and redo the loan every month as you're paying it off and paying it off and paying it off. So now what's going to happen if you guys haven't seen the other videos is they're going to take another 11 grand away from us fairly soon here. So that's and I don't know if that's, by the way, when people see penalty interest rate, I'm thinking that that's might be because we didn't pay that 11 grand because I wasn't paying attention. Right? So I think I might get the 6.34, but I haven't really figured out how the heck they're doing that. I don't know. I mean, it's just not worth too much of my effort. I know how much more or less the loans cost. This loan is costing us in the neighborhood of $2,300 a month. So we need to get better than that, right? Now, do we have everything? Is this our chemical truck? Hey, our chemical truck is here. Now, he's probably should just drop off. Yep, there we go. So now what we can do, let's get this guy. All right, and we did set these. Yeah. All right, so I think a third, and a third, right, at this point, because they're all at about 15. Maybe we up these two a notch, right? Because eventually we'll put more, but we'll just have to balance that out. So there we go. So we got our loan taken care of for 10 minutes. Look, our ruble's going down. But eventually we should get that truck up here that's going to go to the export. Yeah, there we go. This guy here. It always plays favorites on these trucks. And this guy, for some reason, is the favorite truck. So and you can see, this guy already has fuel in him. So what happened was, it was filling up this one, and then it will always fill this truck up for some reason. I don't know if it's because, you know, the driver's cuter than this driver or what it is. But I do wish it would, like, just keep filling up the one truck and send him on his way. It would be easier to balance things, right? Like, I mean, I guess you can balance it either way, but it certainly, you know, and it also, like, delays things. Like, this guy's going to be sitting in there because if this guy gets the priority every time. Now, in this case, you know, that's why I kind of prioritized our domestic refill. All right, so let's take a look at a couple other things here. One would be our population statistics, just to see how they've changed. Look, we're getting up to 1044, 400, and almost we're going to get to 500 workers. That's great. I don't think we've ever been that high. If we look here, yeah, see, I really don't think we've ever been that high. So, but if you notice, it's kind of throughout this year kind of topped out a little bit, right? Like, it hasn't kept going up like our population, and that's because we're having a bit of a baby boom right now. We've got quite a few. So you're going to see in the next whatever period of time, I might pause the video, but by the end of this year, I bet you're going to see a lot more productive age workers because we got 349 children of this age. So our education system seems to be doing pretty well, right? We only have 19 unemployed workers. We could probably go around and see where they're at. Like, I tend to doubt they're over here. One worker without a job because there's no kindergarten. Yeah, we may really consider, I think we need to consider another kindergarten over here. And the kindergarten really doesn't need to be attached to the road. I'm thinking we put it maybe just even over here. I kind of like the circle or the egg. Yeah, I think it's good. It's tough to keep the number of staff you need because, like, one leaves and then it sends another one over. I don't know. We seem to be doing okay for the moment. I don't want to build anything if we don't have to. At least not until the money crisis is over. 2 workers without a job because there's no kindergarten. Yeah, so there must have been going no kindergarten. Even though every time we look here, there seems to be plenty of kindergarten. But maybe it just dipped down there for a minute. Let's see what happens, because we did just fiddle with this too, right? So that could have, when you move new people and you move people around, they all have to go get their needs met, or at least, maybe not all, but they make like a gang rush on the becoming fully happy. Like, if we look over here, they're pretty darn close to fully happy. These people are less fully happy. And so they spend more time trying to get their needs met, it seems. So let's just leave that settle out a little bit more. I'm not going to get too excited. I was betting that we would have more over here because they just don't have that many jobs over here, right? And we're not, well, they're really not happy about the sport thing, but not seeing any unemployed over here. So that's kind of a good thing. Yeah, we're not educating them all, but again, I don't care as long as we're getting enough teachers. And the easiest way to tell if you're getting enough teachers is if you only have little kids here. If you start getting the bigger kids, then you know you're not educating them super fast. And then they also, I mean, this is just regular staff, but make sure you have enough in your kindergarten. So we're doing fine over here. Do we have extras? No. No, so we'll come back and I'll move people around. And so the people seem fine for the moment. And then, last but not least, let's take a fairly close look at our economy. And not all the time, but overall, I like to look at this. And let's just look at what we did last month. So we made a total production of, let's call it 22,000. Non-construction spending is 6,400. Plus the citizens were another 7,000. So that's like 13,600. And vehicle fuel, the vast majority of this is going to be construction. But we'll say we spent about 14,000 on either making more products or keeping our citizens happy, which we'll keep doing in theory as long as we're exporting, right? So that's 14,000 there. So then about 30,000 here. So with the constructions like basically stop, this is zero, right? So we should see a pretty big net positive. Like we're already up to 19,000 this year, or this month, I mean, and it's only not even halfway through the month, right? So this gives you a good idea of whether or not you're building more wealth in your citizenry, and we definitely are at this point. Oops. Let's look at this one more second. Just so you know, you can click on this, right, and see exactly what they're counting. So let's go to last month. So in other words, when you're looking at those numbers, how much did we use for the citizens? Right, so same thing like with constructions, it gives you a nice breakdown. So this is really, when I first started playing the game, I didn't really understand this screen that well. And but it's a really helpful screen for understanding, am I building more wealth in my country? And there's your answer. So let's take a look at this one. This one's nice just to kind of know where things are going a little bit better, right? Like, here we are, Western countries. Well, exactly what is getting me my income? Well, we're a little bit of boards. Is that even worth it? I don't know. We're exporting a little bit of food, and alcohol is our big breadwinner. Now, hopefully we can get a little bit of fuel thrown in there and clothing. So let's see how that goes in the next period of time. And then same thing here. How are we doing? This should just be power. Yeah. And then, so this is what we want to see here. Fuel. All right, if we look, sometimes it's better to look at the whole year. Look at that, zero fuel. So we've cut down on an expense that was costing us, well, let's see, let's go to, it should change from time to time, but if we just said that this was, this was 12 months, so if we divide this by 12, that's going to be like, what, 6,000? So probably 6,000 or more per month. Like last month, well, we cut it down already, but like we're talking that we're saving like over 6,000 a month by the biofuel plant, in addition to whatever we export. So now there has been quite a debate over, whether it's better to import or export. And if you consider this, like, let's just focus on the dollars because that's where we're at. What is 243 divided by, we'll just call it 270, right? It's going to be like 0.9%. So like, or not percent, 10% almost that you lose by exporting it. Does that make sense? So in other words, if I were to export it, I can only sell it for 243, but internally it's worth 269. Now that adds to it, depends on how your economy is set up. In addition to that, you have the factor that if we were to purchase fuel here, right, we have another, we are purchasing, I'm not going to change anything at this point. It's costing us an extra $88 to get it delivered to here. So what would that be? That would be the same. Let's go back to this, right? So we're talking $88 more on top of, that's the wrong button, fuel. So this was a difference of, what, 25 or so? Somewhere in that ballpark. So then add 88 to that. So in other words, the cost for us to buy it is not $269. It's at least at this one station. Now this is going to be the middle of the map. But let's deal with the worst case scenario, right? It's not a bad. So I'm going to do 260. No, hit the wrong number. 269 plus 88 equals $357. It's going to cost us to buy fuel here. So let's go 243 divided by 357 equals 68%. So we're losing 68% of the value of the fuel by exporting it. At least as it relates to this particular gas station. So now other gas stations will be different. But I say all of that because it's not a no-brainer to just export everything. If it's something that you're using, it's not only in line with Soviet self-sufficient, proud country of New Riverstan, but it also arguably makes a lot more sense to be domestically using these things than it would be to be selling them. Like, to the point that what I'm considering doing, one of the next things I might want to do to try to save, a few dollars. I mean, you can argue that you could use your dollars towards going for better export stuff, high dollar stuff that you're making near the border, right? So I understand there's arguments either way, but I'm trying to point out that depending on your circumstances, it's not some no-brainer to just always make exports. It makes financial sense to get rid of your import costs, maybe even more than it does just to export the same item. Now, if the question is between making clothing, which can sell for a small, a ton of money compared to, like, say, food, well, yeah, then of course it's going to be better to export the clothing and just buy your food in. But at the same time, yeah, I mean, it also makes sense for us to do this because we don't have to buy anything else. And there's only a few of the industries that really make a lot of sense to export things. Like, they're not all winners, even if you get fairly high dollars for them. So then it becomes, well, am I making my own resources, like the base resource, crops plus factory equals food type thing? Same thing here, crops plus this. So it certainly makes some sense to get into the industries. Like, it makes more sense to do the clothing because we have the crops, not for free, but we're not importing crops. We do have to import chemicals, but this scenario mathematically works out. So I just wanted to share that because I get some comments and sense and, back and forths that it's just always better to do. Yeah, if you want to do certain things, right? Like, and if you want to do certain things all the time, if you don't enjoy the game startup and this kind of an intricate thing, and you just want to build big, beautiful cities, and I don't mean to dismiss that by saying that's great. Like, you just want to get in, you might as well just go for an oil start, right? Come over here where the oil is. Like, I think it's on these two islands. Yeah, Oil Island North and South. Build yourself an oil refinery and just export as much oil as you possibly can to there. You'll make a ton of money. The same thing you could do is go find a coal deposit someplace, build a power plant, and just start selling all the power. And it's like an easy money maker. And then you can go build big, beautiful cities. Or you just play on unlimited money at that point. I'm not sure 100% why you would start on hard and then not make it hard and challenging. And I've done the oil thing and I've done the power thing, and that's why we have a rule we're not going to export them. So yeah, within the confines of how I like to play, keep that in mind. So if you play a different way, that's great. It's wonderful. It really, truly is. It's why games are so great. It's why I tend to play solo games, because you can, you do what you want and nobody else can judge. Well, I mean, they can judge you if you do YouTube channels, but, for the most part, just enjoy it. And if you don't like this hard start, worrying about, getting going, then, you could set up no rules. You could just, again, at some point, just do unlimited money and just not worry about the money. Just build big, beautiful things. So I like that about this game, that it gives you that startup flexibility where we can have a start like this, because this is what I really enjoy. Not that I didn't enjoy the last map once we get past this starting point, but I do really enjoy everything in games when it comes to like hard Scrabble, get started, how are you going to make it through the tough times. Because after a certain period, it's just going to get easier and easier for us to make money, and the challenge of making money is lessened. So at this point, it's a bit of a grind to get to the point where we're going to be happy and whatnot. I'd like to talk about change subjects. Let's just check things real quick. I just want to make sure, to some degree, I don't care as long as certain things are happening. Like I don't want these factories backing up. As long as these factories aren't backing up with goods, then I'm not too overly concerned. Oh, look, we got something bumped up our rubles. Good. So I don't think it was the fuel truck, because that's going to bump us up quite a bit. Is that who is one of the guys that's sitting in here? Yeah. So he's still sitting in here with a little over half a load. And the other thing I want to check real quick. Let's pause. Yeah, okay, look, our food is up a little bit from what it was before, which is exactly what I wanted to see. Now, I don't want to see this filled up, right? Once this gets all filled up, then that means I have too many workers going to here, and we'll start sending them over to here. Now, at some point, you could say this export truck, do we even export food? Because we're sort of taking away effort from our distillery. So the reason at this point that I have us exporting food is because when this guy leaves, I don't want this overflowing, and I would rather export this. Like, I'm more likely to always have 2 trucks sitting here at our food factory, so that I'm never without this producing something, even if it is slightly wasteful compared to selling more alcohol, right? So now, how many people do we have in here? Yeah, 13. This I would like to see relatively full steam. And this doesn't have... Oh, I keep clicking on a cistern. Yeah. But anyway, all right. Let's. The reason I paused it like that was we need to do this. Look, now we're up to 9. Or down to... Well, you know what? 957. I'm not going to worry about that too much. Because remember we had the extra 11,000? Yeah, there it is right there, 11,000. So we did 3,700 plus 11,000. Yeah, why is that? Why are we not able to pay that off quicker is what I want to know. Did I take another loan out? Yeah. Okay. We're going to do this for now. I might have to just, for my sanity's sake, like take a little bit more of a loan out. But I'm trying to see that number go down, hopefully even before the end of the episode. But again, I don't want to have to just sit there and stare at that thing constantly. But I'd like to see us actually, and what that will mean, by the way, is that we're putting more money into this dollars pile than we're taking out, right? Because if we are able to pay off more of the loan, it means we exported more to the dollars, right? So if we, wrong one, right? Plus, see that 9,000, I'm kind of curious, but it means, yeah, see, Western countries this month, minus 35,000, we bought $1 worth of mechanical components, chemicals. Okay, so you know what? I'm not too there's the reason, right? Until we get, because we're buying those chemicals to fill up this factory, but now we're full, so that should go back to less, right? Because we had to buy 6 tons of them just to fill the thing up. Plus, we probably, that's our crops truck, right? We have a little bit in here, so it'll be a little while before that guy even goes to get another load. So that should start seeing our dollars. I did get a couple comments about the bus and busing. The bus and busing really is not a very efficient thing in this game. And they asked me why I always put this on get out or get in. It's because people don't go back and forth from work or shopping or anything else or school. So once you drop them off at this bus stop, like if you look, there's nobody waiting at this bus stop ever, right? So there's no point in having them have a get in on this stop, right? Because there's just never going to be anyone waiting there. You can even see I have it checked to wait for workers. They just don't come back out of work. It's like the gulag system or something of work here. But in seriousness, so it's my belief, and I don't know if this is true, that this bus is going to wait for some passengers to get in or out, right? Like when you see them pull up here, they wait. Now, are they aware that there's people here or that there's people coming? I don't really know, but it's my general belief that if you have it say get in and get out, that they will drop off the people, right? Get out first, I would assume. Just that's how buses work. And then wait for people to get in. Well, if there's never ever going to be people there, why would they ever wait to get in? Does that make sense? So, like, in other words, just no, drop the people off and get on your way. Like if we come here, you know, like does he wait if there's no one there, even if it's just a little bit? Like, why have it? Plus, in addition to that, it really makes it clear to me what they're doing at each stop this way. Like, I know this is a get-in stop, and if your routes get complicated and you're just looking at a bus and you're trying to figure things out, and that also helps with YouTube, right? Like, you guys can now see and read that. And then part of the question was, well, why do you always do that? It's like, well, because I want to be consistent in the way that I do things, so that as you guys watch the videos and you do figure out, oh, this is what Rever does. He does get in because that's what he's intending. And so anytime you want to pause the game and see how I've set up a stop, it's real clear, or more clear, what I'm intending there. Same thing, by the way, when it comes to things like this cisterns or whatever. Like, yeah, let's come to the gas station here. So we'll see. All right, here's our cistern truck. I do the same type thing here, right? Then the other thing to note is if we have one of these guys that's going to, like this guy's going to a customs house, I always put unload anything for two reasons. One, it's real clear to you guys that this is and myself, that this is not a normal stop. This is a stop, unload to some kind of an export, right? That doesn't necessarily have to be a customs house. If I ever start an export warehouse, which is a warehouse that I supply the domestic first, right? And then I just dump everything in there that I want to have exported and send it on its way. Right? So in other words, I just, like, let's say it's, well, one of these, I might have a covered haul. Whose only job is to wait in a warehouse here. Well, maybe we'd put it at this intersection, right? So I could decide to go left or right. So your job is to wait here for anybody else who drops something off here on their way, making their normal rounds. And only that stuff is to be exported. Otherwise, you have to do this balancing act like I'm trying to do here, where I've got one export truck and one food truck. Like, I could just as easily tell this guy, well, when you get done your normal, drive to the ingoing warehouse, like the stuff, domestic supply warehouse, drop off the rest of it at the export warehouse, right? Then you can have a truck sitting there waiting that will only leave when it's got a full load to drive all the way up to there. So this sort of is, okay, these are things that are going to be exported. And then as far as load and unload goes, this isn't the best example, but I do put load and unload. I think I showed you already, like this. And then you'll see this guy. See, at a glance, I know, all right, we're going to load up here. There's our route where we intend to drive to 2 regular domestic supply drop-offs, and then we're going to export the remainder. So again, it's, just, it helps me keep things straight, and I think if you know my little strategy there, it helps, because these things can happen quick, and I don't spend a lot of time on them. I think it just helps if I'm very, very routine in the things that we're doing. So let's take a look. Are we close to exporting some clothes, or even just getting... Well, we're getting there. We are getting there. What I would like to do is pause the video. We're pretty much out of time. I know it's probably, we still have a few minutes, but what I'd like to do is come up here and wait for this guy to get full, and I'd like to take a ride with him through the country, right? And that'll be kind of official. In the meantime, I'll just keep an eye on all these things that we just talked about. Yeah, how are we doing on this? We got some in there. So our system is working. Right? How are we doing on our farms? Oops. I meant to do the silo. Yeah, well, we're, not great. But we need more money to get more trucks. Right? And we need more money just to, heck, if nothing else, not have to pay that loan off every 10 seconds. So let's see. Once we, we're really not, everything's balanced pretty well, it seems. And I'll keep an eye on the people. And I don't anticipate, too much, not fast forwarding, but too much skipping the video here. Once this guy is full, I'll come right back and we're going to take a ride with him and celebrate our first full load of clothing and maybe even have a little bit of extra money to buy another truck if we need one at that point. All right, see you guys in a few minutes. Sorry about that. I fell asleep at the wheel. Our truck took off. But I don't think he's been gone for too long. Let's see where he's at. Is he... Yeah, he just passed the gas station there. I can still see the bakery. So I'm going to be a little bit quiet, and we'll just take it in normal, slow time, and we'll see what it's like to drive through Radomir's map here and see all the beautiful trees. There's our little gas station. This is where we were going to build our town. And decided against it. And then this is where we were going to build our town. And then put that on hold. Octagon Town. Right, and there's our firehouse. Which is good that we built this. Because I probably would have never built the firehouse. Certainly would have... Yeah, it looks pretty nice. Look, you can even see the fire truck in there waiting. Do we have any people in there? Yeah, more than we probably need, actually. A bit of a waste, but it is protecting our supplies up here, too. So, we are going to get up here to the steel mill. We just had to get a little bit more solvent, I think, before we took on that much more debt. Could we have done it? I believe we could have, but, I don't know that there would have been any more value to our exports through the steel mill. We're just going to have to bite the bullet on the steel. So there we go. There's our little gravel area. What's over? Oh, that's right. Our substations. You can see a little better. There's our warehouse, and here's where we're purchasing certain things just to keep them cheaper. And I'll be quiet again. We'll pass another gas station up here, but we should be at the border fairly soon. can see the border in sight, but I think I have to pause. Because I don't think we're going to make it for I could have to pay a loan off real quick here. Yeah, it's getting a bit annoying, but at least for the sake of the remainder of this video. Now notice we're up to 970. Yeah, that's a bit of an issue. So, and I thought about the reason why we were driving over here, because I was sort of along with you guys just watching that. Let me know what you think of that, if you want to see more of that or less. And I think I'm just going to do that in regular time, so let me know. Let me know. But now we only have 30,000, and I think one of the reasons is we slowed down a lot of our exports and disproportionately to come to the rubles, right? So, like, we're going to get a bunch of rubles here. We're sort of trading rubles. Here, let's play time again. We're trading rubles for dollars effectively, right? Because we're exporting more to the rubles for the moment. Now, the other thing is things will sort of... Oh, geez. Oops. Things... There we go. That's good enough. Starting to have graphics glitches. It's time to quit that, right? But we're pretty darn close here. We should see a good chunk of change come in. How much money? Yeah, 17,000 rubles. So what I'm thinking of is, for the sake of our dollars, I'm sort of debating, and I hadn't really decided until just 1 second ago, that what we're going to do, the reason we're doing the rubles is so that we can get more trucks, right? Which will allow us to potentially export more as a general statement. But there we go. Now we have 24,000 rubles. We can at least safely, within the bounds of still being able to buy power, purchase another covered haul, I think. And what I would like to do, at least to get started, is, well, twofold. Oh, you know what? Yeah, we don't have to do that. We have 2 trucks in here. I was just thinking, if I buy another truck, I'd like to get him to pick up clothing. But I can just switch this guy to pick up clothing. And I don't want 2 trucks in there until I can build the road cargo station. So let's come here. Say, I want you to come here, load and wait for clothing. And then I want you to come here and unload clothing. And I want you to come back to that store you were going to. All right, and then unload clothing. Now at this point, I'm not going to have them wait either place. All right, so let's close, get rid of this. Get rid of that. He should just pull out. Yep. So there he goes. So he should drop off the remainder. Oh yeah, you know what? Let's just do this. All right, hopefully I'll remember to take that off. He won't load any food, but if he comes to one of these stops that needs food, he'll drop the rest off, and then hopefully I'll remember to turn that off. So now we still have money for another truck. Let's see, and then we're getting a little long in the tooth on the episode, but yeah, so we have trucks waiting there. We have trucks waiting here. We don't have trucks waiting here, but that we just put the second one on that. Now, the other thing I did, because I had forgotten when I was paused, is just to send workers to here. So now we don't have any workers, but some of our fabric is going towards this. We could fire this up, but I think I'll just hold off, even though that's going to kind of stink about our fabric situation. As long as we have enough fabric in here to keep them busy. And then eventually, when we have more people, we can send more over to this one and rebalance our little rebalancing act. But I think a lot of that's going to have to wait to the next episode. Yeah, no workers. How's our food doing? It's holding, and that's all I want to see it do. It means we're sort of maximizing things out. Well, yeah, now that we have that, well, could we get more? Nah, these crops are building up, so we don't really need a truck there. You know what? Now, for all that exporting to rubles, we might consider, this is really getting micromanagey, but we don't have that guy back yet, do we? Yeah, this guy's going to export his remainder there. Let's see if we can't find the one that's just going up to the export, because I think I'm going to switch him for the sake of my sanity and the loan, if nothing else. Because we don't need to buy a truck this exact minute. So let me come up here. and say, I want you to unload anything. Don't wait. And then we'll get rid of this stop, right? So once he fills up, he'll come up here, and that should help start paying or giving us a little more money to kind of extend the loan. So, and then I'll do the same thing. I'll see what we do, but it's the next couple episodes are going to be a little bit, yeah, where I just have to get a little bit better financial situation, and then do we start pushing into getting the steel mill done? That's still going to be a big hurdle. So it's let's see what happens. I mean, things might develop, but at this point, I'd like to let our population grow. I'll come over here, like I've said 3 times this video, and keep an eye. When they get up to 40 or so, I'll move some people over, and then, just keep growing the population over here. Might end up building this house in the meantime, but not until, we get a little bit more. But things are going better, right? They're not perfect, but I think you're going to see by the time I start up the next episode, we're, right now even, hey, we've got a decent export with this clothing. So I do want to get another clothing truck, pretty quickly here. But anyway, all right, guys. Well, I hope you enjoyed it. Thanks for all your likes and comments and suggestion, and even the dislikes. And by the way, guys, I don't worry about the dislikes. I thought of a great analogy. It's like do you ever drive, or if you drive or been in a car, and somebody just like blares their horn at you, and you have no idea why they're blaring their horn at you. Like you don't know if they're a friend that's just saying hello, or what in the heck you possibly did to have them blowing the horn at. That's sort of what a dislike is like. I'm like, I just don't know. That was the guy blowing his horn at before. Like, oh well, you just go on with your life, right? There's nothing you can do about it. Anyway, all right, guys. Thanks for watching. Have a good day. Bye-bye.